Hello everyone, Shroomraver here, and welcome back to Let's Make a Mini. This is the series where I'm taking some of our favourite characters from the world of video games, TV, movies, comics, etc. and making them as playable Dungeons & Dragons minis on Hero Forge. Yes, indeed. So today, going to be making one of the first characters I actually experimented with, and that is going to be Caitlyn from League of Legends. Now, I've never played League of Legends, ever. I've watched a fair few friends play it. What really got me onto this was actually watching the Warriors trailer for League of Legends, which is just eons better than anything about the game as far as I've seen. And yeah, Caitlyn caught my eye. She's a sniper. She's got this kind of awesome steampunk vibe going on, which I haven't been able to explore just yet, but I have mentioned that steampunk is a kind of aspect of Hero Forge that we can explore. We're going to be able to do that with this today. Hero Forge, of course, is the website I'm using to make these, and its link will be down in the description below. Make sure you go and check that out if this is your bag. If you want to make your own TTRPG minifigs, that is the place to go. As ever, you'll also find links in the description to Tulok the Barbarian, whose wonderful building character series inspired this particular project. But with that being said, we're going to be able to get on to creating Caitlyn from League of Legends, so without further ado, let's make a mini. So, starting off, we actually get to use the female human build this time, which is fun. It's the first time we've been able to do that, which is nice. And again, you know, I've mentioned this every single time, there aren't that many changes with the head and the body. In this particular instance, we're just going to make her look a little bit cockier. She's just got a little bit of cockiness to her. Certainly in the beginning of that trailer, she's kind of like strolls out in a balcony above where her enemies are, just with the sniper like dangling loose, just like, yeah, what are you going to do? That kind of thing. So we're going to give her a little bit of a cocky jaunt, but that's about it. In terms of the hair, she does have kind of long, wavy hair. I'm going to see if that is a good fit. That's not bad, but it is, like, I think it is longer, so I'm going to try this one and see if that is what we want to work with. I'm pretty sure that's what we want to work with, because she does have long hair. I'm just going to make sure I've got that right with a little check in my images, and yeah, long wavy hair is where we're going with this. So that's pretty much it for that. We don't really want to make too many changes with the body. We might make her a little bit less muscular. She's already not particularly muscular, which is fine. Not every character is. So I think that's pretty much where we're going to be going with that. So once again, now we can get on to the fun stuff with the clothing and gear. Now, as I said, we can really start to explore a little bit more of the steampunk vibe that we can get going on, and there are some quite fun things we can do to make that happen. First example is in the headwear, and a very important part of what you always see Caitlyn with is that top hat. And there are two options in here. You have a basic top hat, but which is this one. But there's another one I want to use, and that is this one, the top hat with goggles. Now, Caitlyn's top hat, as you'll see when it eventually loads, it's taking a little bit of time. There we go. It has these goggles up here. Now, Caitlyn's hat doesn't have that, but what it does sometimes have, from what I've seen, is this kind of extra sniper scope that comes down to cover the eye. And that's about as close as we're going to be able to get with this. So that's what we're going to go with. Now, in terms of her clothing, she has this kind of corset style thing going on with a skirt and boots. And we can quite faithfully recreate that. This is what we're going to go with. The Tavern Girl's bodice and shirt is what we're going with. It's quite close to what she wears in the trailer from what I can see. You've got the sort of the short sleeve shirt with this kind of tighter fitting top over top of it. It's quite accurate, which is not bad. The gloves, she does have these fingerless gloves. We could go with the marksman gloves, but you remember we did those for Ash, because he has the different coloured cuff to the main glove, whereas Caitlyn, hers are all one colour. So we're just going to go with the gunslinger's gloves, which is very fitting given that she's a sniper. Now, in terms of what we've got on the legs, when I first did this build, when I first did this build, I used this, the Tavern Girl skirt, which is actually the full gear for the top and skirt as well. I did that, but her skirt is a little bit shorter, coming towards the knee, and it has the sort of petticoat thing underneath. Now there is a way we can do this, and it's using this. This is the skirt with leg warmers, which is a very strange one to go with, I'm aware. But we're going to be able to make it work. This part here, the leg warmer part, we're going to be able to cover that up with the feet. The feet, she wears sort of tall boots, but they do have a design factor, so we could use these kind of riding boots. I'll put them in just so we can see what they're looking like. We could use the riding boots. We've used the tall boots before. The ones I really want to go with though are these, the Outlaws boots, because they've got a little bit of embroidery going on, as you can see in the description, which is quite nice for her. It adds a little bit more to the character. And as you can see, those leg warmer bits at the bottom, they've been nicely covered up now. And the rest of the leg, what we can do is give her those sort of leather trousers that she wears in the trailer. So we are able to do that. We're going to give her her gear at the end, just because, you know, it's nice and easy to do all of the colouring before we add that in. The base we will be able to add in here. What I'm going to do is just choose the metal textured round base. I think that's just a better fit. In terms of the items, while she is a gunslinger of sorts, there isn't actually all that much in the item slots that relate to firearms. As you can see here, it's mostly just these additional things that really, firearms aren't a big focus of these items. There are some things we can do. If it was, say, a kind of more traditionally energy-based weapon that she or build that she has, I would consider going with one of these, the energy cell or the mechano core. But that's not really her bag. What we're going to do here is we're going to use the grenade option, because she is a gunner and these kind of things could exist where she is. So that's what we're going to work with for her. And that's pretty much all we need to do on the build, per se. Other than the weapon, which, as I say, we're going to add in later. So what we can really get round to now is throwing in the colour. So we will use our base race, which is fine. We're just going to go with this one. Very simple, not a lot of work needs to do. As you can see, the leg area has not been coloured here because it isn't bare. But what it usually is, I think, is a kind of, I imagine kind of more of a cloth or wool, but we're going to go with a leather later on. So, moving on to Caitlyn herself, we could go with the theme. As we scroll down here, we can see that there are some things that could fit. Caitlyn's colour scheme is mostly purple. And as you can see, we've got stuff like this, which is actually really, really good for her. What's interesting about using these themes is that some of the colouring in there is unique to the themes. You can't actually get it if you go into the paint section, which I'll show you now. I'm going to base her off of this. We may make a few changes here and there, but there's actually honestly not a lot we need to do here. So for example, if we go into the mix, we can see that we have stuff like let's see, is it here? I think it used to be. Orion Iron Tube is the name of this purple, and if we go into paint onto the cloth section, you can see that that doesn't actually exist within this section. So this is a really great way to kind of edit things up, and I quite like this colour scheme. There are a few changes that we do need to make. For example, the skirt is going to change to the colour of the rest of the undershirt, which is much better looking. And the other thing we want to do is change the colour of the sort of underskirt. We want to get a nice sort of off-white. So perhaps this. Yeah, there we go. That's much better. this kind of off-white colouring going on underneath, which is what she has in the trailer. Now, some of the purple we may need to edit a little bit. One of the things we really need to edit is the hair. She does not have brown hair, she has blue hair. What we're going to do is spin it round, and we're going for now to go with this grape colour. And what's important is that we spin it around again. Eventually we need to just tilt it up a little bit and get those eyebrows as well. So there we go. We do want to edit that though, because her hair isn't actually purple, it's much more of a blue, certainly in the trailer. So what we're going to do, go into these settings, grab the mid one and just take it up to a more blue input and see what we can do with this. Oh no, I'm on the wrong one. Oh dear. No. Control Z. We don't want that. That's a mistake. I didn't realise I was on the colouring of the skirt. So we don't want that. What we want to do is edit the hair. This is the one. That's better. Rookie mistake on my part. But we can go into the settings here, and we can basically just do the same thing. We'll move this up much more towards a blue, and we'll move the mid tier into more of the sort of royal blue area. If we move it all the way up, it's a little bit too much. So if we go to about, say, here, there we've got a more bluish shade of purple, still with purple sort of highlights. I might change this one as well and just take that up to the blue area as well. So that is a much better colouring for her hair. We've got these sort of purple highlight going on, but for the most part it's much more blue. Now, what we do want to do with this particular purple is take the mid section much more into the purple. We want to really lean into that purple. So if we do this, we'll see it gets a little bit darker. We've still got those accented light pink highlights if we spin it round. And that's much more like her in the trailer that we looked at. Or that I looked at, I should say, while, making this character. So she's got the sort of bluish purple hair. We've edited the purple there as well. What I might do, as you can see, the colouring of her sort of overshirt is this cashmere tune, and what we want to do is make that a little bit more purple as well. Not to the same extent as we changed the purple to the blue, but I'm not sure about that actually. I thought I liked it, but realistically speaking, I think it looks better in that slightly darker tone. So eventually this is going to get back to the colouring I wanted. My computer's being rather slow, so let me just try and Control Z that. Come on, you can do it. There we go, that's better. Yeah, I like it much more with the kind of darker colouring. It's not necessarily as accurate, but it'll work for this. Now, these parts we want to change entirely to just a sort of reddish brown leather. So if we go onto the leather section, we've got stuff like the ranger hide, that's not bad. I personally think that this is better. So as you can see there, what gives it away is this kind of crease at the back. That's what's showing you that it isn't supposed to be a skin tone, it's supposed to be a material. And that kind of crease actually lends itself quite well to it being these sort of tight-fitting leather trousers that she wears, certainly in the trailer. I'm not sure how accurate this is necessarily to the game, but I'm going to assume that the trailer is much more of a sort of faithful representation, and since that's what I'm going off, that's what we're going to be working with here. Now, because we went with a sort of base theme, this area at the floor, the sort of the grenade and the base, they are the colours they should be. And we've got the black primer around the base. I realised that in the last video with Sokka, I forgot to do that. It was left as white, which kind of fits because he was meant to be on snow. Here we've gone with a black. So we've got the hat in, we've got these sort of fingerless gunslinger gloves, we've got as close as we can with the skirt and sort of bodice / corset top. We've got these nice boots, which, just looking at it, it would be nice if we could get maybe just a little bit. I'm just going to see if there's any other colouring we need on there. realistically speaking, that's actually quite a close approximation. And again, as you can see, the colorings we're using there, we've got this kind of, I think this is the coloring that's been used, these two leathers, Griffin Brown, and we've got the Rogue Black. But you can see, what's interesting here, these colorings that are base, so for example, this is the coloring that's used on the grenades. As you can see, it's called Rampine, which I guess might be a pun off Ramstein, which I quite like. The reason that we don't necessarily find all these colors within the general paint is because, as you can see, we've got this thing called Rogue Black Tuned, and that is the coloring that's used on the boots. But Rogue Black, in terms of this, it does exist. What tuned means is it's been edited, and that's been edited by the makers when they put these themes together, and that's really useful because it means we don't have to do anything. We're pretty much just set as we are with her general scheme. Now, with that being said and done, we've pretty much got Caitlyn finished here, but we are of course missing one key feature, that being her weapon. As I've mentioned, she is a sniper. And again, these do exist. You know, we've got pistols are not really the thing she kind of uses. She uses a long gun. What I want to do is just see if there's anything we want to put on the side. Maybe like an ammo pouch would be quite nice. She does have sort of, how do I describe it? Most of her gear is stored in like leg pouches, but this is probably as close as we're going to be able to get. So I'm going to select that. Again, it's going to take a little while, but as you can see, this appears right here. And to be honest, that leather colouring is pretty good. So I think that's worth keeping just as it is. There's not a whole huge amount else we really want to add. You know, these are all swords, knives, gun holsters that really aren't going to be particularly useful for her. So we're not going to add them in. So the final thing, as I said, is going to be her weapon. Now, Hero Forge have added a lot of new long guns, as you can see. Not many of them are actually going to be particularly apt for Caitlyn. Stuff like this, a blast rifle, that's not what she uses. We want to get as kind of almost traditionalist rifle as we can. So stuff like this is a modern high-spec rifle, as it say. That's not what we want. We don't want that. We want something a lot more traditionalist. As you can see, we've got a shotgun, we've got futuristic rifles going on here. This is much more of a, how do I put it, sci-fi based sniper rifle, which is again not what we want. You can't see it from this angle, but the this part here, the muzzle, is actually split off into a kind of, as opposed to just being a straight muzzle, it's kind of split off into a kind of crown shape like that, which we don't want. Then you've got this Western shotgun, which is quite good, but it's a shotgun, which is not what we're after. What we're after, realistically speaking, is this, the plain rifle. As it says, a very simple wooden rifle, but that's what we really want to get on here. So we're going to give her the plain rifle. Now, as you can see, it's a little bit too high up, but that's fine. What isn't fine is the colour scheme. We need to change that. And we need to get quite sort of technical with it. Caitlyn's rifle is, this is as close as we can. We can't get the sights on it, that's very unfortunate. Caitlyn's rifle is very elaborate. And it's kind of got all these gold inlays and what looks like marble as an inlay as well. Now we can get a decent approximation of this. It's not going to be perfect, but there's nothing quite like Caitlyn's actual rifle in here. If we scroll down even further, you know, we've got an AK, you've got an actual sniper rifle, but that's not what we're after here. And then below that, you've just got Tommy guns, machine guns, this kind of weird bayoneted futuristic rifle, an assault rifle, which again is not hers. This railgun, the blunderbuss. I mean, the blunderbuss, let's have a look at it actually and see what it looks like. Because she does have a kind of fluted, no, you see, that's not right, that's not what we're after. Her gun does have a kind of fluted muzzle on the end of the barrel, but this isn't what we're after at all. We are looking for a rifle. So there's this kind of bolt action, which again, her rifle is bolt action. You see that in the trailer where she's constantly going to fire. But again, this is not what we're after. This is... I mean... It's not bad. But it's not quite going to give us what we want, I think. No. That's not going to give us what we want. And then you've got this kind of submachine gun and then the RPG, which is not what we're after. So we've explored a few options, but realistically speaking, the one we're after is the most basic looking one, this kind of plain rifle. That's realistically what we're after. But we will be able to edit around the colouring. So if you go back onto colour, again I've got my guide up on my other screen. What we're looking for is metal and stone. Stone would be a weird choice. You may not think that stone would be a go-to, but it's going to give us a good approximation of what we're looking for. So when metal eventually loads, which is taking its sweet ass time, let me tell you. Here we go. This is what we're after. The Ancient Radiant, just pure on straight up gold. Now we want to spread this around as much as possible. So if we go here, can you colour this bit? I don't think you can. I think that's just going to be her hand there. Oh, you don't know. Because it's taking its time to load up anything. I don't quite know why it's being so slow, but it's just the way of the world, I guess. So we're going to add gold there. We're going to add gold here. That can probably go as gold. And then the two barrels, or rather the barrel in this lower area, they're going to be gold as well. Her gun is mostly gold, and as you say, you have these kind of accented parts as well. No, I said gold. Thank you. So, if we go on stone, you can see we have polished marble, and that is going to be what finishes off the gun here. We're going to add it to this part. When it eventually starts, we're going to add it to this part. And we're going to scroll down to here, add it to the stock, and we're going to see if we want to add it to the hammer. I quite like it on the hammer, so we're going to do that. We don't want it there. Oh, that's not bad. But I rather think we want to keep that gold. Let's have a little look and see. What have we got? No, I think her handguard is actually that metal colour. Just looking at it. Yeah. Let's lose those. And we're good to go. So yes, we've added a little bit of marble in there. And that's pretty much all we really need to do. The last thing is just to sort out the pose, and there's not too much we really need to do here. At the moment, as you say, we've got this sort of very open pose. I think this is not bad. This kind of come at me stance when it eventually loads. It's not ideal. So what else could we use? Let's have a little look and see. We scroll down. There's not a massive amount going on here. Something like this could be an option. This kind of on guard pose. Nah, that's not great either. So let's scroll back up. There is one I thought I had. It's this one I think is what I'm after. It's called Notorious Spy, but it is much better for her just kind of holding her weapon. And that is not bad. The positioning of the grenades, as you can see down here, has edited itself into a better pose. And you can see we do have some of these ones. Now it's going to change the colouring of the gun back, which we certainly don't want. That's okay. And then you've got this kind of out of tension one as well. But again, I'm not a massive fan of those. I think it's much better with her in a bit more of an open one, kind of just holding the gun up, just kind of ready, because that's how I saw her in the trailer. And that is pretty much going to be Caitlyn done. This is a really good example of how to get the most out of the presets. Obviously we used a preset when we did the first video in this, when we did Carcass, but we did a lot of changing around of that. It was just to get a basic idea. Kratos. Kratos' one, we used a preset so we could get a basic idea of what sort of colours needed to go where we needed the red on sort of the patch on the shoulder, where we needed the metal on the armour, and where we needed the kind of different fur colours. Caitlyn's one is a much better example of how to get the most out of a preset for what it is, for giving us those custom colours that we can just tweak a little bit here and there to get the perfect option. And yeah, it's given us a pretty fair representation. We've got the clothing is as accurate as we can. Those boots really add something with the fact they've got the patterning on them. Editing the hair just a little bit and getting the most out of that steampunk hat, where we don't have the perfect option, but we've got enough to go on. And we'll scroll out a little bit just so we can, I think we might be able to, can I do this? Yeah, there we go, we can, good. So we can scroll in a little bit, and that's generally the final form, as it were. So I'll just scroll back onto the head, and then it will scroll back out when I click races, and that'll be that, I think. I hope. Come on, work with me here, computer. You've gotta work with me. It really doesn't want to. What a shame. That's okay though. We'll just scroll ourselves back to where we were, a little bit more scrolly in, and that will be that. So yeah, that is going to be it for this episode of Let's Make a Mini, where we make Caitlyn from League of Legends. So thank you all very much for watching. I do hope that you enjoyed. Remember, of course, you know, I've got a big long backlog list of characters that I want to recreate, but if there are any characters you want to see me recreate on Hero Forge, then put them down in the comment section below. You can hit me up on Twitter. You can always catch me there. Both my Twitter links are in the description, along with the link to this website, Hero Forge. Please do check it out. They do wonderful work for all your TTRPG minifigure needs. They are my go-to, and they are my endorsement. I'm not endorsed by Hero Forge at all, I just love using their site. And of course you can find links to the inspiration to this series, Building Character by Tulok the Barbarian, his links in the description below as well. But that's going to wrap things up from here. I've rambled on far too long as always, so my final thank you to you all for watching, and I guess with that, I'll see you next time. Laters.